Hi, everyone. It's that time again. Do you know where your soybeans are?
What an
So,
entrance, Anne-Marie.
we've got the semblance of a deal. Yes, I would imagine that this would help gap markets up. But, if you listen to the side over here on this side of the pond, it's absolutely, it was amazing. We've got a deal. And the other side is, yeah, we'll see.
Right.
so, um, we'll see a little bit of discord going on there, but it's positive, and in a bullish environment, that's what we're going to look for. If you haven't taken the time to look at the news, there are a few things going on um, around this deal situation. The country that I was actually born in, that I was an immigrant there. My parents were immigrants there also, and then we immigrated to the States. But it's a little island nation called Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of people say Tobago. It's
It's
not,
Tobago.
but that's like it's Tobago. Like a lot of people say Antigua, but it's Antigua.
Yeah.
Just a few tips there about these Caribbean nations. Anyway, they've docked off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago, and you can see Venezuela on a clear day off the tip of the northern part of that island. It's got a few people nervous. Could be a show of strength, but it could be something else. And that might make oil look a little bit interesting at the open today. So we might have a number of gaps facing us today. And so we've just got to be a little careful, let it settle out. And, if it turns out to be a rocket ship to the moon, or um, a failed rocket ship into the sea, I don't know. We'll be able to have one or the other. How are you tonight, Jay?
I'm doing great, Anne-Marie, doing great. Had a good weekend. Hopefully everyone in the chat is doing good as well. Ready to get back into the markets. I think it's going to be a good week of trading. We saw equities making all-time highs last week. We saw
Yeah.
some volatility in gold. I think there's just going to be a ton of opportunity for us to take advantage of. And we have a Fed rate decision this week as well. So
Yes. Yes.
if we
Very,
didn't
very sure.
if we
Yeah.
didn't get enough volatility, I think we have some coming on Wednesday. Someone says we're muted. I don't think we are. Check your audio source. But if you're saying we're muted, you probably can't hear me say that. We'll just we'll just keep the show going on. We'll just keep the show going on. I'm doing great though, Emery. I'm doing great. Do we
Good,
have a
good.
trade deal? Still yet to be determined. It sounds
Yeah.
like we are uh, potentially closer to it. But see what happens here. Is no problemo another prop firm? No, it's not. It is just a hat. It's just a hat. I like this hat. I actually bought this hat this weekend. I'm like, yeah, you know what? No problem.
I love that.
No problem. I'm
It's a
gonna
it's
wear
a
this.
chill vibe,
Very chill
and
vibe.
we need a chill vibe when we're trading. We can't get we can't get crazy in front of the screens, or we'll make all kinds of mistakes. The front page of the Wall Street Journal actually has quantitative tightening on the horizon, and
Hmm.
they're saying that they're almost finished with the entire cycle of quantitative tightening. So big markets know that liquidity is coming. Last week, the Russell broke out. Let's have a peek at the Russell. We don't trade that too much on Topstep TV, but it does. Well, the Russell doesn't. The IWM certainly is in a breakout. That's the ETF. Very interestingly, across markets, there's more volume in ETFs than in the actual stocks going on, and that's a little interesting. It's another example of the tail wagging the dog, but we could see a pretty big rise there in the space. So we got a lot going on. What are you thinking about looking at when you first open up the charts tonight with so much
Uh,
news?
for me, Emery, I'm going to be looking at the equities, Nasdaq, S&P, and that gold. We did get some data last week, and I'll switch over to my charts here. Uh,
Please.
did get some data last week. Of course, that CPI number came out on Friday, better than expected, and we saw the markets make all-time highs and sustain that all-time high. So looking at the weekly, again, these equity markets are extremely bullish. Looking at the daily in the Nasdaq, we had the October 10th, which was the tariff tantrum candle. We called it during at the buzzer. We closed above that, right? We closed above that. So what I'm looking for coming into this is if we're getting closer to a trade deal, do we just continue to sustain this move to the upside? The high of that candle, October 10th was 25,390. What was it? 25,388. Right. So in that kind of zone, I'm just looking to see if the market comes back, test this as a support. But I am looking for right now to see the markets continue to push higher. Of course, anything can and will change. I am thinking about, Fed rate decision coming up Wednesday. It's kind of already priced in, I think, or it's assumed what's going to happen, a 25 basis point cut. I'm curious to see how early in the week, how directional we get before that Fed rate decision. Wouldn't be too surprised at a somewhat consolidated 2 days, but of course, anything can happen.
Yeah. I would urge the traders, if you're used to jumping right out into the deep end of the pool as soon as the markets run, it's probably not a bad idea to just figure out where the last bit of volume accumulation has been, in terms of looking at, say, if we're just staring down gold, you can see we really sat for 4 days in this big patch at the end of the fourth day and then into these areas. This level right here is Friday's low. That might be a very interesting place to see how the traders do, and then last week's low. I would not be surprised to see a fade and then a bounce, or a bounce and then a fade. Ultimately, if we look at what's supposed to happen from a Keynesian sort of economics perspective, if the interest rate cut is baked in, then gold is going to do its own thing. But if it's not baked in and it comes in after the fact, gold will lift as the dollar loses strength. It's going to lose strength under a lower interest rate relative to the motion, but it's been kind of doing its own thing lately. So I would say let it settle out, give yourself, 10, 15 minutes at least, rather than jumping into the fray, or use micros instead of the minis across the board, would be my thought, because we could have ourselves a little bit of a gap going for sure.
Emery, we got a question here. I know you were just talking about gold, but on the Nasdaq, Edwin is saying, is there any concern of almost a 200-point gap on the Nasdaq? Are you seeing a 200-point gap anywhere, Emery? I'm looking at my charts. I'm not seeing one.
Let me see if I see that. I normally go to Bloomberg for that, and I haven't lately. So here we go. Markets. It says 1.5%.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I see about a 20-point gap right now. If I'm looking at where the volume is kind of trading right now, and we'll see, of course, the volume come in closer to when the session opens.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can start to see some orders on the order book. I'm not seeing 200 points, so I'm looking at maybe an open kind of right where we closed, right around 25, 530s or so. Last Sunday's gap, is there a concern there? For me, if we're talking about last Sunday's gap, I'm probably not going to be concerned about that until we trade into it.
Exactly.
Once we start to get within 100, maybe 50 points of that, then maybe we'll get there. But until then, don't worry about the monsters that are under your bed until they prove that they're actually there.
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly.
A couple minutes before we open here, any other markets you want to take a look at before there's a ton of opportunity. Bitcoin's been providing opportunity. Crude oil has been providing opportunity, Emery.
For sure.
The equities have been. What have you been? What are you going to be looking at this week?
Well, this week, I'm probably going to keep my eyes on gold
Okay.
again this week because it's been good to me. And it's moving a lot. There's a lot of points that you can get in a really quick period of time, just so long as you're careful on the pullback. So I'll be looking at that. I really want to see what's going on with oil. Let's take a look at what the gamma lines are showing us for a couple of these.
Okay.
What kind of gamma levels? Okay, so the call wall, whoa. The call wall is still at 6,800.
In
That's
gold.
crazy. In ES.
In ES. Okay.
In
Gotcha.
ES.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's still
Gold is nowhere near 6,800.
6,800. The upside is still 6,800. For the NASDAQ, that is really surprising that they did not shift that call wall up. That's bizarre. The call wall in the Nasdaq has moved up. It is 25,510 for the 0 DTEs and all the way up at 26,000 for the weekly chain. So a 200-point move up, traders aren't going to get all wigged out about anything like that.
Okay.
For gold, let's see where the call walls are here. 0 to call wall is 2135. And what were you going to say?
Nope. Keep going. Someone asked where you getting your gamma levels from. That is from Mentor Q, correct, Emery?
Yes, that is correct. And the big call wall for the weekly and monthly is moved down. It's now 4,300. And so they're expecting some sort of sideways pressure event there in gold. Nothing really giving us any ideas about where people positioned over the weekend that's different to where they have positioned. The call wall in oil is still $65. The 0 DTE call wall is 62.70. And so if you remember last week, the long trade, everybody was thinking, hey, this is a long trade into oil, but that call wall really sat there and pushed everything down. As soon as it got over $62, it moved right back down. And so um, I, I I suspect it does it again. If grabbing my tin foil hat out of the drawer, which I seem to be pulling it out a lot lately, I would not be surprised that the dip in oil, the administration is figuring out, hey, we want oil cheap, but it can't be so cheap that we have to go and subsidize
And
it.
there we go. We are open. Who was
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about that 200-point gap? There it
Whoa,
is.
there it is.
New all-time highs in the Nasdaq 25,768 and a quarter. New all-time high
We
there.
might we might ought to ask that person where they saw that. I did see a 1.5%.
Yeah.
So that certainly seemed to be pricing in. I got to tell you, folks, I would not buy this. It's just me. I wouldn't buy it right now. The ES is also gapped up 68.74. Um, that's pretty big. Let's start setting up some stuff. Let's take a peek
Let's
at what we might do.
take a look
Uh,
here. So
yeah.
what was interesting was, I kept centering the dom on Quantar, what I have, and right
Hmm.
when that person asked, I saw some orders near 500, and then they moved
Hmm.
up, and the center of the dom was then 600. So yeah, I'm curious, and we're here to learn all the time as well. Where are you guys getting that information from? Where you see these gaps? 300 lot, this is extremely thin right now in this market. Looking at the Nasdaq spread right now, Anne-Marie, it's anywhere from 5 to 15 to 25
Yeah.
ticks. Uh, I'd be
I
careful
would.
trading this right now.
Yeah.
Extremely
You're going
thin
to have slippage that
order book right
is
now.
ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My suspicion is that it fades simply because everybody is, uh, well, I don't know why I think it fades, but other than the fact that, a lot of times people will try to push price down to fill the gap.
Yeah.
So so where I normally get it, where I did see the percentage of movements, I will go to Bloomberg, first page on Bloomberg, and it'll say market indices, and as it'll show you um, what's going on in general in how they're priced. And it did say, 1.15%. So I did see but that's the only place I get it. Is there someplace else that folks see that they use it?
It's a great question, right? Great question. That might be an opportunity for us to learn. I think Bloomberg is a great spot to look for it. And it's
Yeah.
pretty. It was pretty close, right? I'm looking at the Nasdaq right now. It's up one point. Well, it was up 1%. Now it's kind of fading off this move again. Did make a new all-time high
Mhm.
in the Nasdaq. So real quick, let me do this while we can. Let's see if this works. Actually, the last time I tried to do this, the stream broke. But there's our air
All right.
horn for the Nasdaq and the S&P 25,768 and a quarter. New all-time high in the Nasdaq. The S&P also did make a new all-time high, 68.90. Pulling back just a little bit from there right now. So Emery, you say you may be looking for this gap to fill. How do you go
Mhm.
about placing a potential trade here, or do you kind of just let the dust settle a little here?
So if you're going to trade here, you got to be in scalp mode,
Mm,
right? So my first thought is, how is inventory being accumulated? And we can see that our 1-minute candle gives us a range of anywhere between 25,707 and 25,768,
okay.
right? So once we have that in the 1 minute, if you're thinking about scalping it, you for me, you simply have to wait until the traders tell you what they're doing. And right now, they're holding the floor and trying to accumulate into the very top tick. Now, if they're gonna do it, then this would be the place that they would do it. For me, I would think it would be reasonable to do a sell stop because it's got a pretty fair movement here.
Okay.
Um, so I could fade the bottom, right? And if it turns around, I would immediately reverse the trade and take it back to the top of the range. So, if we were a betting man, we could say, "Hey, listen, let's say it's bullish. That's all sunshine and roses. And so we buy the bottom of the range. And if it loses the bottom of a range, instead of a stop market sell for one, we would do a stop market sell of two. We
Mm,
just reverse the direction, right? But when you've got we're looking at a 1-minute chart, and they're trying to hold it. Now, I was in Coach Ray's room this weekend, and he made mention of something market candle market theory or something interesting like
okay.
that. And so you and I just talk about candle ranges and the 50%, right? So here's what we have. This is the 1-minute candle, and the 50% range, we're not getting over it right now,
Right.
right? So either
There was some decent selling up there also. Someone was on the offer at 25,737, the 200 lot. The market did take that out. There's another 200
whoa,
offered at 25,750, which is pretty crazy to see, right? We're seeing some pretty big offers sit there on the
especially
market.
this time of night.
This time of night with such a thin market, Amory, if you look at
Yeah,
some of the prices, and if you guys have the depth of market up on your screen, there are some prices with no orders at all. So for somebody to sit out there with a 200 lot is huge for
yeah.
right now. And there's another 200 offered at 25,750 in the Nasdaq. They left the order out there at 737s. I would mark that price on my chart because that price meant something to somebody. We don't know who that person is or why 25,737 meant something, but they sold a 200 lot there. Again, does that mean the market's gonna sell off from that point? It doesn't, but I would watch the market's reaction, at that price for sure.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting right there. Where else do we see? We see something at 750 right now.
Yep.
Is that where
You know, it's funny, Emery. That 25
740?
737 is right around that 50% of that 1 minute candle that you're looking at. So maybe we're not the only ones.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. We are not the only ones looking there.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the open and close of that candlestick right there. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in a long here, but especially if we lose the VWAP, you know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely. I think for me, looking at this here, just with how thin this order book is, I'd
Mhm.
probably be patient and let the first half an
Yeah.
hour play out. I do like a potential gap fill on this, right? Especially
Mhm.
coming up to 25 750s if we can't fill those orders because now there's 500 contracts offered between 25 749 and 25 750. Right, somebody's on the offer at 25 749 with 300 lots and another
Holy
250 at 750.
smokes!
And again, that's big size for a thin market. So I would not be surprised to see the market trade through those. But everything is on the offer right now.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, for this time of night, that's really saying something. Yeah. So that's what we have a tendency to just jump in because, hey, I'm above this average, or hey, I'm doing this or that. But it's important to really see what the traders are trying to do. And here's the thing: if somebody comes up here and they've got a 500, if they've got 500 contracts waiting to be sold, and those things get sold, we are going to move up. The same thing happened in gold.
Yeah.
Absolutely the same thing happened in gold. If they get filled, the market is going to continue to press upward. Right now, all the traders look at this VWAP. It's flat as a pancake on that 1 minute.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see what's going on in the ES.
Take a look. It's a much thicker market right now from what I'm seeing on the order book. There is really no spread in the ES. It's still a one tick spread. I mean, it's two anywhere from 10 up and down. So still pretty thin for the ES, but nowhere near the same spread as the NASDAQ. But we did get that gap up as well. What are you seeing over there in the ES?
You know, the range is much tighter, of course. We broke below and then we've recovered it. So, someone in Coach Ray's room said something pretty interesting. He used the terminology sticky, not slippery.
Okay.
And so this is, how you think about what a support line is. If it's sticky, they sort of jockey back and forth around it but hold. And if they're slippery, they just slide right off the ledge. And so far, this floor, although it's been broken, is now a little bit tighter than it was. Momentum really high. Man, oh, I, I, I don't know. I would say the market is certainly sitting in a spot where it's nowhere above the 50% range of the first candle, nowhere at all.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is hold the floor of the candle, and if they don't, I think it fails, and we fill the gap or parts of the gap. Yeah,
Taking notes
that's
with
pretty interesting.
uh, taking a look at gold. Gold is pretty interesting. I know you said you were going to focus on gold. I'm going to pull up my chart really quick because gold is doing
Yeah,
something
please,
interesting
please.
right now. On the daily, we are seeing gold continue to hold this 20 moving average on the daily. It's a yellow line on my chart. Um, Kind of just looks like an uptrend line. You can see how aggressive it is to the upside. And we're continuing to hold it, and we did it again so far today. Um, I think everyone's trying to figure out is gold broken now? Is it going down, or are we going to hold here? And my opinion, Emery, is that we hold, right? We had this October 21st candle, that big sell off that we had in gold. We were down about 5% on the day. We haven't closed outside of there, right? Every day
Well,
since that day, We've traded below the low of that candle, 40.93. We've had a couple of tests so far of the 20-day moving average, but we continue to hold. And what this kind of reminds me of is, going back to the 130-day consolidation that we had in gold, where we had that blow off top, pretty big volume. We sold through that, but we saw the market hold. Now, I just think that what we're seeing in gold is the next consolidation range before the next level higher, next leg higher. Um, it just may, we saw it be 130 days trading the same prices last time.
Yep.
I'm kind of hoping it doesn't stay that way, but it was a decent enough range to trade.
Yep.
But you know, again, holding that 20-day moving average, I feel like we consolidate in this range for a little bit. We saw gold gap down right on the open, and it's already bought right back up.
Mhm.
Um, so
Which is what we anticipate
right,
if that interest rate um, reduction is on the books and holding. It will give a bid to gold. So my thought is, I really believe that gold is in a relative fade. And so I still expect all the big bounces to sell. And this level, interestingly, take a look at this. Actually, let's do it on your chart.
okay,
You've got pretty candlesticks. Go to a daily.
all right. I'll switch over daily here.
Yeah, go to a daily. And then go to October the what, 14th. Where's the 14th?
The 14th is this one right here.
Right. So that candle right there has so much. When you collapse into, say, a 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute,
Okay.
there is so much arguing and price compression in that zone.
Mm,
And my suspicion is that it matters even today. And
okay.
so you can see, like, maybe one, two, three. Today's maybe the fourth. One, two, three, four. It's the fifth day really in this range between 41.10 and 41.60.
Okay.
And as long as the traders can't close a day above 41.60, I think we head down. So my suspicion is they are building a ledge of inventory accumulation, and then we're going to have more liquidation. But that's just a theory of
Right.
mine based
Right.
on what it is I'm thinking the chart has. I know that I'm wrong if it closes above 41.60. And that's a really important part of trading. When you're trading, you simply have to know the price region where what you're thinking is wrong. And when that gets breached, it's an area for you to go, hang on, I need to recalibrate, instead of doubling down and saying, oh no, it's got to do X, Y, or Z. This is a really important uh, trading event that an individual has to have if they've got focus as their primary thought process, right? It's not your strategy that's going to make you the most successful. It's your focus and execution of that strategy.
And it's such a great point. That's
It
such a great point.
truly is.
We hear it all the time, right, Emery? And I think I've done it as well, right? Where I just like I know exactly what the market's gonna do. I measure it out really well. And sometimes we measure it out so well that you do end up forecasting the high or low of a move, right? Some of these, it actually happened on on Friday, right? If we something we look at all the time, Emery, is 50% of a high volume candle. On
Yep.
Friday, that was pretty much the low tick of the New York session twice.
Yep.
But if you're not in the right mindset to execute on it, who cares? Right? Where cool, you got it right, but did you get paid from it? And I think what you just said, being in the right mindset to execute your strategy is way more important than exactly what the strategy is. We are seeing the
Exactly.
equities sell just a little bit here, 25,711 last trade in the Nasdaq. Some of these offers that we saw up there did step down. Now there's 200 offered at 25,729. So interesting stuff here.
Yeah. Still holding that, still holding that floor, but, you know, I I don't know what, I don't know what the expectation is. On the backdrop of everything, we have seasonality mechanics and indicators that are saying, hey, listen, from October the 27th until the end of the year, it is really fairly bullish, except for like about 3 days around the 20th of November to the 26th of November, something weird like that. We normally have this little jolt. And so a lot of portfolio managers are going to be recalibrating and adjusting into the end of October, the month end. And a lot of old school traders that trade equity futures like we do, they say, hey, listen, I don't trade the last day of the month. I don't care what's happening. I take the day off because the wicks can get very large. And so I don't know if they're front running the move into the end of October, November, if they're saying, hey, listen, let's just kick it off. We've got stuff going. We know the Fed's going to give us some liquidity to play. Let's just get the ball and get running. A lot of those guys have very deep pockets. And if we're trading combines or XFAs, most of those pockets are not very deep. And so what we have to do is manage our risk dramatically. We really have got to keep our eyes focused on what's going on in the edge. Now, if we take a look at gold right here, here we are on a 1-minute chart. Here is a ton of inventory accumulation. They broke out of this ledge and they're here probably trying to fill the gap, right? Because it did gap down and it's moving up to fill that gap. The question is, what kind of trade is sitting here?
Right.
So easily we can look at something and say, I see everybody buying here. So if it comes back here, I'm going to buy, right? Because we're seeing this here. And then we can say, hey, if I lose, the stop would be this 1-minute candle 50% volume event, right? So if it breaks 41, I'm going to say 4109 because 4110 is a pretty important number. That's going to be our stop. But we can clearly see buyers, 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 buyers. So if they were all here at one time, then I'm going to go there. I'm just going to hang out. Now, it's not a trade that I can hold for 50 points.
Right.
Because clearly it's given me a range. I clearly have sellers sitting at the top of this range. But if I'm just using the framework and I say to myself, okay, I can manage this risk, I'm going to take it where everybody else has been buying. And I'm just going to wait for it to move. Now, what's in my favor? Well, momentum's not in my favor because it's negative, right? So it may come to the very bottom of that range. Trend is sideways, but my fast moving average is bullish. And so I'll leave that as master and commander and say, all right, my VWAP is up, my trend is up, my momentum is flat, a little bit negative. So I'm pretty sure they're going to come down to the bottom of the box and I'll get myself filled. When you're staring down price action events and you're thinking, a lot of us that trade, we get very nervous getting into a space, even if we're trading a combine, and that's sim money. It's not, it's not real money. It's sim money.
Right.
And so the one thing to do is really sort of build, if this thing bounces and does not get me, I'm going to be pissed.
I told you, Anne-Marie, somebody's watching the stream. Somebody's watching.
So
Front running entries here.
yeah. So, but what we can see, even if it does bounce, what it does tell you is the premise is correct, right? And so you understand if you're trying to get your confidence up, you can do it on these tiny time frames. And then as you get stronger, you realize that the fractal motion of the market is going to give you an opportunity to uh, enter on larger time frames and doing more in the space. So just a little bit of a thing to help you build your confidence. I remember when I first started trading, I had way too much confidence, and that's why I lost,
Yep.
lots of zeros. And so I really had to come to that space where my confidence came because of competence,
Mm.
right? I was confident, but had nothing but incompetence to show for myself. And so that sort of thing, it happens to us. But that's my thought. How would you set up a trade like this? How would you look at this volume on a 1 minute candle? Would you anchor it here? You normally use a 3 minute, right?
I normally use a 3 minute. Let me see if I can get my gold charts
Yeah,
back
use it.
up here.
Yeah,
I was actually trying
pull
to
it up.
pull
Let's
up
see.
something else, and let's see if this comes up. Or nope, it's gonna send us into a void. Okay, give me 1 second here. Let me
Mhm,
get my gold chart back up. Okay, there we go. Gold chart's up here. What I would be looking for, I do like. We do have that kind of 1 minute range here. Handle I'd be looking at is this one here. So I'm looking at a 1 minute right now. This is 6:10 Eastern time. So
mhm,
10 minutes into the market open. I'm looking at how the market responds to this candle. Uh, Ideally, if I'm going to get in long here, I probably want to get in long. We can see it. We kind of held that 50% already.
mhm,
We printed this candle, came down, held 50% right around 41.10s. Ideally, I want to
mhm,
get in long somewhere there, but what I'm doing
mhm,
also is anchoring a VWAP to this. And you can
mhm.
see that VWAP is kind of right where your entry is.
Oh, yeah.
So someone, yeah, someone front ran your entry there. And I know you're looking for a scalp trade, right? Like you said, you're not looking
Yeah.
for a 50,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
50 point trade here. At
Yeah.
this point, because this VWAP hasn't left this range to the upside and we spent a decent amount of time here, what I would be thinking is, can I get a better entry than this volume? Right? Because then worst case scenario, if I still like the longs,
Gotcha.
worst case scenario, if we get a pullback and I still like the longs and they don't sell this off, if I'm able to get a long down here and I'm still looking for a scalp, worst case scenario, I make money to their position, right? Back to VWAP. Best case scenario is I get long, and then whatever momentum created this continues and pushes us higher. And then we get, an even better trade from there. So, um, that VWAP trade played out great a couple of times. But now, because we didn't get that immediate push, I'd be looking for a better spot than this VWAP, probably somewhere down near these tens, and just watch the market reaction to there. As soon as sellers fail, I'd probably be jumping in. But I like this. I like being long gold. Um, I know it's had a rough couple of days, but I do like trying to find opportunities to buy it.
Well, when it runs long, it runs so fast and so hot,
Yeah.
right? You just can't help it. And two, when it goes short, it does the same thing. So let's talk through scenarios, building something together. So let's say a trader goes, all right, I'm learning how to master my markets and I'm coming in right in the open and I'm taking a look at it's either a huge gap down or huge gap up or whatever. And do we wait? And this is a question for you in terms of mechanical flow. Do you wait for the outsized volume candle to put an anchor VWAP on the trade in order to um, position yourself? You know how sometimes we have a trade coming up and we're
Hmm.
sort of thinking about, I don't know, what to feed the dog instead of what, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're just not present. And so we're looking at the chart and we're saying, oh my gosh, there was a big volume candle. Oh, I think it's going to fill me, but I think it's going to come down right into your 50% range. Let's
Let's
see
see
how
here.
that works.
See if it holds.
Give it a little bit
Seeing a
of
decent
room.
amount. sell come in here, but
Yeah, let's see how that looks. I still like it.
yeah, I do like being long here. But to your point, do you wait for the high volume or do you kind of uh you know maybe I don't want to say preempt the trade, but just put it on and look for the movement after? Was
Uh-huh.
that kind of your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you
So
set up waiting for the trade? Are you going to go, all right, I'm just going to look for a big candle? That's what I normally do. And then I look for a consolidation
yep.
outside the range of that candle or under the range of the candle, and then I run.
Yeah, so for me, Emery, I actually read through. I have this trading journal in my desk here. Is from 8 years ago. Some classes
Cool.
I took, and I reread it because I feel like one of the things I've been doing recently is kind of rushing trades.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned taking these lessons, we were just talking about, getting a better price than the trader you're trying to follow, right? Because I think my job as a trader, especially reading volume, is to determine where the volume is trying to go and just get in the flow with them, right? But
Yes.
if I can determine that and then get a better price than them, then great. So for me, the first thing I want to do is look for that high volume, right? Because that tells me that there are some intentions here. And we can kind of see it, right? It's not a coincidence
Mhm.
that this candle that we have framed out is the highest volume outside of the open, and it's also the one that filled the gap, right? Where it's either stops going on off up there or someone bought it to
Mhm.
fill that gap. So now what I'm reading is okay, there was a trader that either wanted to or needed to fill this gap. Do they still defend that position? And if they do, wh- what's my chance to make money with them if they're going to hold this position? If they're not, then then I'll be out of the trade. But right now they started buying right at 4103. So now I'm looking at this and saying, okay, can I get a better price than them if they're going to continue to push this long? And if not, we'll just, take a small loss on this. So for me, I'm always going to wait for the high volume first. If I'm trading at my best, I'm waiting for a pullback and then getting in that direction. Let's see what happens here.
Let's see if it'll get me here. We're in between these two anchored VWAPs.
The one from
Yeah, the
where do you have
one
yours
from
anchored?
the open 1 minute candle uh to that second 1 minute candle that occurred 10 minutes later.
Got you. So right around
Yeah.
4104s and 4115s. Yep.
Yep. Yep. So, in hindsight, what I what I ought to do when a trade doesn't go the in the move that I expect it to, what I look back at and go, all right, is there something that you saw there that sort of gives you a little clue as
Mm.
to what might be going on? And what is that great big moving average you have? Um, that it's a white one
Oh
that's
yeah,
over.
the 200 moving average.
Okay, and
200
so
moving
you
average.
keep it on there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always thinking to myself, all right, what could I have seen that would maybe um tell me that my chart is moving in the wrong direction
Mm.
as relative to my trade. And this downward flow of lower highs certainly is a clue in hindsight for me to go, hey, wait a second, that's not doing what it's supposed to if you're looking for strength.
Right.
So that was something that I just wasn't paying attention to. And it proves the point of you saying, "Hey, when you've got a big volume candlestick,
Mm.
why not wait for the bottom of that edge to present
Right.
before you decide, you're gonna do something else?" And so,
Nice reentry there.
yeah, thank you. Let's see if it holds that 50%, and, if it does, great. If it doesn't, we leave with some profit as opposed to not. And here's something else. As a trader, when we're learning to build confidence, right? When we're learning to build confidence, Re-entry is something that terrifies us.
A
When we
hundred
go,
percent.
"Oh, I'm long," and then you get stopped out and you go, "Oh, $400 for my drawdown," or whatever it is that you're thinking. If you're a guy, maybe you're just thinking that. If you're a girl, you actually are holding your head doing something like that. But oh, I made that stop a little bit too tight. Uh, but don't be afraid if you're working on your strategy and your process. Don't be afraid to re-enter, because being afraid to re-enter does this terrible psychology to you. First of all, if it works, you're absolutely miffed. You're like, man, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, da 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 da. And then it causes you to preempt the normal step one, step two, step three, step four, and it makes you jump in to the next trade that maybe you shouldn't have taken without enough thought going through it. And so you have to protect your psyche when you're trading. It's the number one thing to protect. And so if I look at this chart and I go, hey, well, you guys know I just told Jay that I am intrinsically thinking short about gold, but this presentation is long.
Right.
This is a long presentation. So I am more than happy to go in the direction of what the chart is telling me. And if it stops me out, I'm still going to do what the chart is telling me. And so this is the power of using anchored moving averages between two positions. It gave me the confidence to go, wait a second, first, old resistance, new support, and it's got an upward flow and the first big volume of the opening space. And then again at the second one that said, all right, you can take this trade down here because at the very least, they're going to try and bounce off old resistance as new support. And I know I need to get out close to the top of that one because there are a bunch of traders that are going to say, hey, I'm going to short that VWAP up at the top there. But these two VWAPs between big pockets of volume are going to help you corner your buy and sell. And so it might take me a couple of trades to get back, but from down being 640, I don't really care about what that says. All I'm doing is trying to trade my
Process.
process.
Yeah.
And so, just don't be so fixated on what your balance is. Just, follow your rules. Sorry, Jay, you were going to say?
No, I think you made a really good point, Emery, about the not being afraid to jump back in. One thing my trading mentor used to say all the time, he's just like he would welcome losing trades because that just meant he was that much closer to the next winning one. If you have faith in your strategy, right? I think a lot of
Love
times what
that.
happens is we measure really well and then we get, we call it what it is, right? We get our feelings hurt when the market doesn't agree with what we thought. So then we try to then we try
So
to
true.
change. We try to change what we're looking for, and it's like no, we use sports examples all the time, but is Steph Curry going to change his shooting form if he misses a shot? He wouldn't be a Hall of Famer if he did.
Yeah.
You have to trust what it is that you measure day in and day out. And it's hard because we lose money when we're wrong, right? But if you can catch from the feeling, and like you just said, it sounds weird to say, but I don't care that I lost that money.
Yeah.
But you kind of can't, right? And if you do care,
Yeah.
then you might be trading with money that you probably shouldn't be trading with. But,
Yeah.
that's that's really the game, right? Because you can't care too much because you'll be so attached to having to be right.
Yeah. The attachment that I have, my attachment is to process
Yep.
because I know over the long haul, my process is going to keep me green in an upward trending portfolio. The big thing to be careful about is not attaching how you feel how you feel based on what your last trade was, right? I mean, if you think about a professional baseball player, right? We watched the Toronto just absolutely destroy the Dodgers the first night, and then the second night they came back together and it was the other way around. Now, if those Dodgers hadn't said, "Hey man, it's just one game. Let's just get after it. It's just one at bat or it's just, whatever it is, you have to have that memory of I'm just going to follow my process and focus. Focus. And that is something that we simply do not do. We don't live in a focused society. Everything is scattered all abroad.
Yeah.
And if we don't focus, we lose a specific part of our edge that will help us be green. And
Hmm.
so as you trade, just realize that's an important part and don't be afraid to get back in. Now, how do I know we're afraid to get back in? Because I used to be afraid to get back in,
Oh man, so much, so much. Like, no, I
right?
can't. I can't take that trade again. It's gonna hurt me again.
Exactly.
It's like, you
I don't want to
gotta.
feel that again.
Yeah.
I can't believe that just happened.
Nice trade there though, Emery. And I think gold is kind of doing exactly what we analyzed, right? It's staying in this range of this high volume. But like you said,
Yep.
right, I'm not looking for a 50-point trade. I'm looking for a couple of points out of this range
Yep.
until the market presents something else. I do want to pull up real quick. This is going to be a quant hour chart, everyone. And again, you can trade quant hour charts with your Topstep X data. But switch this over real quick just to see some of the size on the order book. 500 lot right now at 25,759. And again, we had a 737. We had a 200 lot fill there. And then we just had right at 750s another. It was offered up there. They pulled it and kind of moved everything up. So there's a decent amount of size trading in this range right now, even though the order book is pretty thin. But again, we could see this huge gap up on potential trade deal. Maybe we're getting closer with a trade deal with China, but I'm watching how some of these bigger orders up here trade out. And they moved a 500 lot up to 759s in the Nasdaq. So just taking a look there,
That's such a big order to just be sitting out
it's
there.
just sitting there in a
We're
thin
just
market.
seeing so many weird ones like that, right? Like the
Yep.
1,000 lot gold the other day.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
That was bananas, and you have to kinda wonder what they're doing showing their hand like that,
Yeah,
what the big plan is. I don't know. Look, there's
I'm,
another big order up here.
I'm looking at
So
it.
there's 5 and 3, there's 800 sitting between 765 and 759. So there's a 500 and then 300 up there together. That's just bananas.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a look at Bitcoin
Okay.
because one of the parameters of the the Bitcoin crowd is that as we lower rates and keep spending, our fiat currency becomes even more fiat. And by the word fiat, I can't even believe that Italians have a car named Fiat, but fiat is to be a fiat currency is a currency that's not backed by anything solid. And so this gives rise to the Bitcoin nation. And so Bitcoin gapped up massively. So let's do that volume analysis that we just did here. We'll look at the 1 minute candlestick. We'll just anchor that because that's the first one out of the gate. The candle 3 minutes later or 4 minutes later, interestingly, is the one that has the highest volume. And so until we get above that space, uh we can't really think about being long Bitcoin here. I mean, you could think about it, but that would also incur a fair bit of risk. if you want to do that. And this is our micro Bitcoin space. So if you're thinking about that, you could use the volume profile here, and you can see that they're building a profile event based on all this volume. They're building a profile event that begins as a value area low of 114,260, and then a value area high around 115,070. That would be the space I would look for resolution up over the top. It's got positive momentum on the tight time frame. So this one could rally. It's a big bounce. And I do think Bitcoiners are going to have their day of reckoning. But again, this is just my thought. And so that and $6 will buy you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So, you just have to go, what makes sense to me? And then price accordingly if you're thinking about risk. And if you decide you're going to go long now, that risk threshold should be at 114,000. You'd need to position your stop right there if I were thinking about that, but that is flat. Now, what is your thought about when you anchor a VWAP and you see it flat? What do you do in
Uh,
terms of, do you wait for it to get trend, or what do you do?
it's either a no trade or a range trade, right?
Got
So let me
it.
share my screen
Yeah,
here.
please.
And you anchored to the first 1 minute candle, is that correct?
Uh-huh,
Or the
uh-huh.
highest volume
And
one?
then the fourth one, the first one
First
and
and
the
the fourth
fourth
one. Okay,
one.
gotcha. So
Mhm.
what I would do is if I anchor here, right, this one started to trend initially and then it's flattened out. And then if you anchor to this one, it's going to be a flat line as well. What I tell myself in this situation is do not trade anywhere near these red lines. Um, because the market it's a
Gotcha.
50-50 at that point, right? The market could really go either way. But how I
Makes
would be looking
sense.
at this for now, and again, I could be completely wrong on the direction of a trade or a direction of a market, right? But that doesn't mean that there isn't a trade in that space, right? So what I would be looking for
Mhm.
is this. If we're looking at 1 minute candles, this 6:03 Eastern time 1 minute candle was the highest volume candle of the day, higher than the open. So this is the candle that has the highest potential to establish that range. If volume is flat, what I'd be looking for is failure of sellers at this low to then buy it back up into the VWAP. If it pushes up at the high, I'd be looking for failure of buyers to push it above higher and then trade back into VWAP from there, right? So if I took this, let's say I take this long here, and I know a lot of range traders, and everybody's gonna be different. If I take this long here with let's go with a 2 ATR stop on a 1 minute, so that would be my stop here. My
Mhm.
target, I think a lot of range traders look at the other side here. For me, I can't look
Yeah,
at
my
I
target's always 50%.
Right, it would either be 50% or this
Yeah.
view up, right?
Yep,
If not
same.
just a 2-to-1 trade, right? And that
Yeah.
that puts us pretty close to a 2-to-1 because once we start to get back to VWAP, that's where we get in that range of 50-50. It could go either way. Volume
Mhm,
hasn't really told you that it's picking a direction yet, at least in this time
mhm.
frame. So I would have to wait there. Seeing some traders say gold sold off. There we go.
Let's take a peek.
I think it's doing what you expected on a higher time frame, Anne Marie. You said any of these pops are going to be pullbacks.
Yeah. I just there's a lot of weird stuff going on here behind the scenes. And so, um, what I think has happened is a lot of speculative motion has moved into the gold complex. And that speculative motion is just, it has to crescendo at some point where people begin to take profits, and then the more it fades, the more profit they take. And so it's just been running so hot. I mean, it's acting like a meme stock, and it's gold.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so I expect mean reversion on some grander scale. But common sense and what seems to be, we never know in the markets. We
Yeah.
don't, right?
What you
We
what you
don't.
yeah, what you expect to happen does not have to happen.
Never,
And
never.
again, I said I was looking for longs, but if you had a $600 trade there to the long side, I know one thing, Emery. Depending on the risk I'm trading, but if I see a $600 trade in a couple minutes, I'm leaving with something, right?
Yeah,
I'm taking something
exactly.
off the table, especially in an environment where that trade that you took, and I think what was really important about that, because sometimes we'll see traders, Emery, say, "Oh, you took a long, but you got the direction wrong." More than
Mm,
just the direction, it's about what you expect out of the move. If I'm looking for a
exactly.
long and I'm only looking for $2 in gold, then that's my trade, right? It's a quick scalp
Yep.
opportunity. If I measure for a 100-point move to $100 move to the upside, then yeah, my measurement was wrong.
Yep.
But if your expectations match what the market is saying, then
Yep.
I think that means a lot more than getting the direction right. Um,
100%. 100%. That's Hey guys, I know we're getting ready to be the end,
yeah,
but after this show is over, I want you to rewind it and listen to exactly what Jay was talking about in terms of setting up a trade in that 1 minute range or in that range candle that he discussed. He was dropping nugget after nugget after nugget after nugget. It is really worth the rewind and the scrub when he started talking about it. You're going to pick up a lot of stuff that's going to help you. I cannot believe the hour's up already.
that went so
It's
quick.
good. Yeah,
That went
it
so
sure did.
quick. Uh,
It did go quick.
There was a question about the call wall, Anne-Marie. I don't know if we
Yes.
wanna save it for next time. Someone was just asking, how do you kinda use that information, just the options levels. I don't know if we wanna save that for next time or
Yeah, super quickly, the call wall just tells me where people are going to fight. It
there we go.
tells me where the octagon is sitting,
There we go.
right? And who's gonna try to bring blood. They're both gonna try to win something, but that's all a call wall really tells us. It doesn't tell us anything absolute. It just says, hey, that's a battleground. You better be careful right there in terms of trading. Folks, money is something we can recover, but time never is. And so you spent your time with us, and we're both really grateful for it. We love being part of the Top Step TV community. We love you being a part of the Top Step TV community. Jay, you got any great words of wisdom for us as we get
Uh,
into today and the week ahead?
uh, awesome session, Anne-Marie. I love when we get to do this together. I feel like I learn something from you every single time, that we do one of
Oh,
these.
okay. Same.
And, like I say every time, trade well, manage your risk, and all tomorrow for the opening call. Um, that's
Yeah,
what I
we
got.
got
Yeah.
Coach Dakota tonight.
Yeah, so we do. How
Yes.
could I skip over everything that we have coming
Yeah.
up before the opening call,
And then
right? We have
Aaron.
Dakota coming up for slow markets, 7:30 Central Time. Aaron with the London Open, 1:30 Central Time, 1:30 Central Time, and then D with the Euro trade at 3:30. Emery, can you believe that we're pretty close to 24/7 Topstep TV with what
I
we do
know,
on
I
YouTube
love
and
that.
Discord? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
All for free.
amazing.
All it costs you
We're
your time and your
growing. I
attention.
know. We're growing like wildfires.
Right. Absolutely. But that's all I got, Emery. Want to wrap it up there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Be
Thanks.
careful. Manage your risk.
Talk to you all soon. Bye.